Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us here today. Just a few moments ago, the City Council passed a resolution on earned sick and safe time, which is creating a task force that's going to help us review the issue and give us feedback via the Human Rights Commission of the City of St. Paul on this important topic. The applications to serve on that task force are going to be coming out very shortly, and we will be publicizing the application and the application process and hope to get a lot of folks involved in that process. My name is Russ Stark. I'm the president of the City Council, and glad to be here today in support of this Earned Sick and Safe Time resolution. 5 of my colleagues are co-sponsoring the resolution today, or did co-sponsor the resolution. Councilmember Amy Brenmone, who's here in support. Councilmember Jane Prince, who's here in support. Thank you for your support on this important issue. And a couple of other colleagues, 3 other colleagues of mine will actually be speaking here today, as well as some other folks. St. Paul is booming, and with both population and job numbers on the rise. But this economic boom is being experienced unevenly. Nearly 25% of our residents are living in poverty. Income inequality has continued to grow in recent years, and racial disparities are unacceptably high. Low-wage workers, who are disproportionately people of color, face many stressors in their daily lives and struggle to make ends meet. One of those stressors is deciding what to do when they or a loved one are sick. Do they go to work and risk getting others sick? Do they stay home and have that much more trouble paying rent or other basic needs? Or in some cases, even risk losing their jobs. My kids are older now, but I remember clearly the days when you'd get that call from daycare and the kids or a kid was sick and needed to come home. As a parent, you don't have any choice. You have to go pick that kid up from daycare. I was in a position in a salaried job where I didn't have to worry about losing pay or losing my job. But no parent should have to choose between picking up their sick kid and losing a job or not being able to afford the rent. Employers, all of them, can and should be part of the solution on this issue. Many of them are already doing the right thing by their employees. Others might feel like they can't afford to do the right thing. But as a city and a community, we can't afford to continue to put low-wage workers in these impossible positions. Next, I'm going to bring up my colleague, Councilmember Chris Tolbert. He's got a few words to share. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out today. This is an exciting day passing this resolution. I want to say, this is an issue that I've been monitoring for a couple years, but it really hit home last year. I was shopping at the grocery store, and I was chatting up with the cashier, and I said, "How you feeling, or how you doing?" And she goes, "Well, I'm not very good." And I said, "Well, why not?" And she goes, "Well, I'm dealing with pneumonia." I said, "Well, why are you at work?" And she goes, "Well, I took Monday and Tuesday off, and I can't afford to take the day off too." And I said, Don't you have sick time?" And she goes, "No, I don't have any sick time." And she goes, "And I can't afford, I can't make my rent if I don't come to work today." And I left that transaction walking out, and I'm thinking to myself, that's not right. Someone has pneumonia and they're standing there working at their job. That's just not right for that person. Then I started thinking about it a little bit differently from our community perspective. And I thought, she just checked out all my groceries for the week on a personal perspective. Then I thought, she checked out probably 100 other people's groceries for the entire week. How many people did she touch with pneumonia that day? She didn't want to do it, but she didn't have the choice. And I said to myself, that's just not right, and that's not good for the public health of our community. This resolution and what we're pushing for is for the public health of workers, is for the public health of residents, and for the public health of visitors to the city of St. Paul. And that's why we have so many advocates here behind us. We have so many people supporting this. We have the Minnesota Nurses Association. We have the Minnesota Coalition of Battered Women. We have the UFCW, Isaiah, Jewish Community Action, the St. Paul Regional Labor Federation, Take Action Minnesota, SCIU Healthcare, Ask Me Council 5, and so many more are supporting us in this effort because it's the right thing to do. It's good for the public health of this community. Let me just give you a few facts. In Minnesota, over 1 million workers lack earned sick and safe time. 42% of workers in the city of St. Paul lack earned safe and sick time. Those jobs tend to be concentrated in the service industry. And as I like to say, these are professions with people who interact with more people on a given day than any good politician would love to interact with in a month. And that's not good for the community. When only 24% of people who prepare our food have access to paid sick leave, that's not right. A few other stats. In 2012, the American Journal of Public Health found that the lack of paid sick leave led to an additional 5 million cases of H1N1 during the 2009 outbreak. Those communicable diseases are preventable, and we can do that. Further, in St. Paul, annually, there's an estimated 8,487 domestic violence-related calls. These survivors need to seek assistance from their abusers, and they shouldn't have to choose between being safe and paying rent. And that's what this is all about. No one wants to come to work sick. If it's a choice between working while sick or not paying rent or buying groceries for the week, then that worker oftentimes is going to have to choose working while sick. We as a community do not believe that's a choice that people need to make. We do not want our cooks, our waitresses, our home care attendants, our custodians, and so many other occupations with high public contact to come to work with the flu, with the cold, with pink eye, with mono, with pneumonia, or worse. And that's why we're passing this resolution. So I want to thank everybody for their support today, and thank you for coming out. I'd like to pass it on to my colleague, Rebecca Naker, who's got a few words to say.
So unlike Councilmember Stark, I do have young children. I have a almost 3-year-old and a 16-month-old. And on Monday, I did get that call right in the middle of a busy day that my son, Whitman, almost 3, had been apparently periodically throwing up all over different parts of the daycare and had just been discovered for doing this. Gross, I know. But I had a lot of things to worry about in that moment as I quickly figured out the rest of my schedule and got out the door. I had to worry about all the meetings I was canceling. I had to worry about the fact that I hadn't picked up my phone until an hour after I'd been called. I had to worry about what I was going to do the next day when he'd have to stay home as well. I had to worry about my son, who was sick and throwing up. The one thing I didn't have to worry about was whether or not I would receive pay for that day and the next day that I would have to take off. No parent should have to worry about that. And the fact of the matter is, I'm white and I'm middle class, and so I'm really, really lucky in this regard, because to me, this is an equity issue. We talk a lot in this city about equity, but equity isn't some big amorphous term. Equity is about on-the-ground practical policies and realities. And this is one of them, because the fact of the matter is, it's the people who are least able to afford unpaid days who are least likely to have earned sick and safe time. And it's people of color who are least likely to have access to earned sick and safe time. Of full-time workers who earn less than $35,000 a year, only about half of them have access to earned sick and safe time. And the Hispanic and African American workers are the people in our community who are also the least likely to have this access, only about half of them as well. So to me, this is an equity issue, and it's also, in my case, about taking care of our children. Because just like my decision revolved around whether or not I was going to get paid to take that time off, and I didn't even have to think about that, for most parents, whether or not they have paid sick leave is the primary factor in whether or not they're going to decide to stay home. So as Councilmember Tolbert talked about, as a public health issue, if we have parents of students who are not able to take the time off to stay home with their children when they're sick, those children are going to school sick, they're communicating that with other students, and they're unable to learn when they're in school and they're sick. And finally, equity in terms of women, 40% of women still lack access to earned sick and safe time. And so as a woman, this is a particularly important issue to me because women are still overwhelmingly the ones who are likely to accompany their children to doctor's appointments and stay home when they're ill. So I'm looking forward to proceeding with this resolution. I'm glad that it passed today. Thank you to my colleagues and to all the advocates who are here. And I'd like to turn it over for another perspective to Evelyn Peckus, who's a student at Hamlin University.
Hey, hi everyone. First, I just want to thank the council members for doing such a great job so far, and the community members for being here. My name is Evelyn Peckus. I'm a 20-year-old Latina. I'm also a full-time student at Hamlin University. I'm currently employed as a student worker, and for most of the time in my school, I've been working at least 40 hours a week, but because I'm a student, they've all been part-time jobs, so they're 20 hours or more at each, so I'm not able to get paid sick leave or paid sick time. I have 3 chronic illnesses. Probably the most severe is my lupus, which is an autoimmune disorder where my body confuses its organs and tissues for like foreign invaders, so then it starts attacking itself. A few weeks ago, I started a chemotherapy drug for that, and I of course, haven't been able to take a paid sick day. I've gone into work throwing up from the nausea, and I've had a lot of really terrible side effects from that. Though my employers have been pretty flexible. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't give me paid sick time. And I don't think that I do a very good job at working with guests or customers when I'm going into work sick. So I really think that our community could benefit so much, and it would really prosper, and it would help the health of all of our members to be able to have paid sick time. And I know that I would definitely do a better job at the places that I'm employed. So I hope that you'll all join me and everybody else who supports this new legislation.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Diane Brennan. I am a lifelong resident of St. Paul. Since 1983, my husband and I have raised our family in Ward 4. For 10 years now, I have owned Fusion Salon, which is on Snelling near Minnehaha. And beginning January 1st of this year, I began offering earned sick and safe time to my employees. I knew it was the right thing to do. I care about my employees and their families. My employees shouldn't have to choose, as many are speaking to the same thing, whether or not to stay home with a sick child, or in my situation, I care for my elderly mother. I rather to stay home rather than to lose wages. I would also rather that my staff stay home when sick, as to not make the rest of us sick, or worse yet, infect all the clientele, and so on and so on and so on. Some of the pushback, of course, is the cost to an employer. But I think that the bottom line really is that I want to stay competitive in hiring the best talent, in retaining the best talent, and that's why I support earned sick and safe time.
Good afternoon. I'm Farhia Khalif, Executive Director of Voice of East African Women, an organization founded to provide safe and healing place for East African women and all women. We offer shelter, support, advocacy, prevention, and education services to survivors of violence, as well as creating community in which violence will not be tolerated. I'm hopeful and optimistic that St. Paul City Council has passed a resolution directing a task force to look into a citywide ordinance. As a current employer, I already provide sick and safe time to my employees because I believe they shall not have to lose a day's pay just because their children's school nurse called it saying that they have to pick up their sick child. And I especially do not want the woman that my organization serves to lose the only source of income and support if they are facing domestic violence and need for support from domestic prevention organizations like mine. Women and men need to most support when they are in situations such as this. They do not need to worry about losing their source of income due to a domestic violence and sick. I applaud City of St. Paul Council members for taking this crucial step in convening a task force. I invite all employers, all sizes of employees, all from all sectors to join this task force in crafting an ordinance that will create a city that values the health and safety and all residents who live, work, and play here. Like the council member Rebecca just said a few minutes ago, many of the women who as immigrant or Muslim in the state of Minnesota doesn't have the opportunity she has because she's white, because she's a middle class. And I understand sometimes it's not easy. For that, I will fight and I will stand with the city council's today's resolution. And I applaud all the city councils taking this step to passing this resolution. Thank you. This is what we're going for: better health, better community, not only city of St. Paul, but all Minnesotans. And I applaud for all of you to join, to be part of this task force. I thank you very much, and I will call Council Member Daithel.
And just, again, thank you to Council President Stark and Councilmember Tober, Councilmember Nacker, and all of my fellow council members, because and of course my policy intern Chris Xiong for their work on the Earn Sick and Save Time, and I want to thank them because and also our business owner, our allies, our labor friends, and folks who've been really passionate about this issue, because I could remember when I first humbly took office in 2013, we weren't even sure how far we were going to be able to push Earn Sick and Save Time in St. Paul. And we are this far because of all of you and your help, and we're definitely in the step in the right direction. So today it's a small victory for working families and businesses across St. Paul. There are many great cities in the world that are built on the hill for other cities to see, and I believe that St. Paul is one of those cities. Since the birth of this city, generations after generation that came before us, I believe they built this city on courage and compassion and determination to attain a better life than their parents before them. And so this resolution is the right thing. And if we do work towards, and if we do pass an ordinance in the future, we are surely continuing that St. Paulites' legacy of courage, compassion, determination to keep the light of our city burning bright for all family in St. Paul. So the team, we got together and we thought long and hard about Earn Sick and Save Time and what that would look like. And we wanted business owners and we wanted employees to shape this ordinance, to shape this as Earn Sick and Save Time as we move forward. And so we wanted to convene a task force that is reflective of the diversity St. Paul has to offer. We want business of all sizes, from neighborhoods, from downtown to University Avenue, from Highland to East Side, from the North End to the West Side, to be heard and to be a part of this process. We want employees who currently have earned a sick and safe time, and employees who don't have the option to take care of the sick child to be at the table. We want all voices and perspective to be shared and to be valued. We want to have an honest conversation about the realities that both businesses and employee are facing and the opportunity before us. So I urge you to join the task force. The application process opens today until February 24th. If you cannot participate, we have an online form, Open St. Paul. Otherwise, you can reach out to our offices and share with us your thoughts, your experience, your concern. We want to hear from you. At the end of the day, it is true that Earn and Save Time, it's about public health. But beneath that, beneath all the technicality, it's about love. It's about business loving their customer, therefore they take good care of their employees, who then can optimize their service to their customer because they can take care of their loved ones. As St. Paulites, it's our duty to demonstrate the same compassion and to double down our support on local businesses to create a healthy ecological economic system to sustain our city for generations to come. And so we call on all the businesses and community members to support this. Let's explore this together and let's co-create a better St. Paul together. Thank you.